Welcome to Spicy Toast Gaming and our Veigar guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. Let's get into it. To start things off, we're going to have a overview with the pro, con, and mixed. Now the mixed is just because some elements can be positive or negative based on your own personal preference. And so we'll just have that there so that you can make up your own mind if you think that's a positive or negative. Alright, starting off with the pros, consistent removal. So, as we'll touch on later, some of his star powers gives you spells you can use every single round to just destroy your enemy units. And so you can easily take out any units the opponent puts in front of you every single round, just getting rid of whoever you need to, which is very nice and definitely very strong. Next is unique. So the way he works is his entire kit is based around darkness, which is this spell that we'll touch on a bit more later. But all of his units are based on increasing the damage or reducing the cost. And so it's a very unique playstyle that no one else really has anything really close to it in Runeterra. Next, he definitely has a Napoleon complex, and you know, Napoleon conquered Europe a couple times. Definitely very strong, definitely a positive, can't go wrong. Alright, so for mixed, he's very defensive. Normally you're not really going to be attacking with too many of your units, and you're just working on buffing up your darkness until you use it to destroy the enemy nexus. Alright, last for the mixed is the ramp. So, like I've mentioned, everything is focused on buffing up this one spell, and so working on buffing that is your ramping process, and that can take time, so it's going to start off very weak and get better and better, but that means you are going to be weaker at the start of the game, and if you don't get your ramp done successfully, you won't be able to win the match. For the one con, he is very champ reliant. Now Veigar, when he levels up, he lets that darkness be able to target the enemy nexus, but before that, it's not able to. So if you're not able to draw him, your real only win condition is essentially not there. So that is the one negative, is he is very champ reliant. Alright, we'll jump in the game, take a look at his card, his star powers, what relics really work well on him, and if there's any cards of his starter deck that you're going to want to cut. Alright, so taking a look at Veigar, he is a 4 mana, 1/4. So he has a decent amount of health, but very low attack. You normally are not going to be attacking with him unless he really gets buffed up with some crazy items or powers. But what happens is when he's summoned, creates a darkness in hand if you don't have one, and then round start, he buffs all of your darkness everywhere. And what that means is any that you have or that you create in the future, they'll get that 1 extra damage. So he's helping out with that ramp. Now darkness is this 3 mana, deal 2 to an enemy, and it's slow. That will get buffed up later, the damage, cost, and the speed. Now his level up is he's now 2/5, so he gets 1 attack and 1 health, and now he still does the same thing as before, where if you summon him or round start, create a darkness in hand if you don't have one, and then grant your darkness everywhere that 1 extra damage. So he's still increasing that ramp, and that can just scale infinitely. But now, when you play darkness, it can target anything, including the enemy nexus, and that is the most important part of his level up. Alright, his champion spell, Event Horizon, stun an enemy, and then stun all other enemies with 2 or less power. That can be very nice just to stall out the game while you continue your ramp. Alright, taking a look at his star powers. So his rank 1 is create a darkness in hand if you don't have one, and reduce its cost by 1. So that can be very handy when you're starting out, just to always be having a darkness and having it so that it's reducing its cost, so you can play it eventually. Now it's just reducing the cost of that darkness, not darkness everywhere, So once you play that, the next one it will make will be at that 3 mana again, unless you've been able to reduce it. Now his 2-star is pretty crazy. It gives you that +1 starting mana, and now your darkness accelerates to burst. So since it's burst, the enemy cannot do anything to counter it. They have no chance to play any cards, they have nothing they can do to buff up their units to try to make it survive. And then, since it's burst, you can just keep playing darkness spells if you have more than one. Now the rank 3 of I Am Evil creates a darkness in hand that costs 0. Now this darkness is not fleeting, and so you can have multiple of these stack up, and so you can let them keep getting more and more powerful, and then one round just play 3, 4, 5 of these at burst speed so the opponent can do nothing. So you can either wipe the opponent's board or just completely obliterate the enemy nexus. So this is very strong, definitely helps with your entire game plan of buffing up darkness and using it to just destroy the nexus and the enemy opponents. Alright, for relics, what I suggest getting first for your rare is Luden's Tempest. All of your spells and skills deal 1 extra damage. His level up is you have to deal 12 plus damage with darkness, so having him on board just makes all your darknesses do more damage, so that's definitely helpful with your main game plan, and then also with leveling up Veigar as soon as possible. Spell Shield, very good. You want to have your Veigar on board as much as possible. You want him to stay as safe as possible, so just making sure that the enemy has a harder time removing him is definitely helpful. Archangel Staff, it can be nice. Unlike most other builds though that you're focused on spells, you're only really focused on darkness, and normally you're playing 0 mana ones or ones that have their cost reduced. So Archangel Staff, while it is good, it's definitely not as necessary as it is for most other champions that focus on spells. Alright, some ones that can be good is some passive ones like Heart of Gold or Luminous Orb, just to get him a little bit more tanky. But most of the ones don't really have too much of a strong effect for Veigar, because you're normally not attacking with him. So just playing more defensive, getting Lost Chapter can be good. Chameleon's Necklace can definitely be nice if you're having problems drawing him. And then one other one that would actually be pretty good is the General's Counter Plan. So round start, you create a fleeting copy of him, and what that would do would just be making, for Veigar, what that would be doing is that would be giving you his champion spell every round. So this 5 mana stun a unit, and then all enemies with 2 or less power. So that's just giving you more ability to stall out the game. The good thing about Veigar though is he's really not reliant on his relics like some champions. So I really think just having the Ludens and the Spell Shield is perfectly fine, and then just playing around with whatever else you want to have on him. Alright, his starting deck, I'll go over what these all do and how you really want to play them, because it's actually really important for Veigar. So the Twisted Catalyzer, strike, grant your darkness everywhere, 1 extra damage. So this is one unit you want to be buffing up as much as possible in game. Anytime you can get more copies of these or get items on them, you want to, because you want to have these on board and making them survive and attack as much as possible, just so you can get your darkness buffed as high as possible. Stilted Robemaker. This is definitely very good before you get your 3 stars on Veigar, because until that point you won't have those 0 cost darkness every round. So just reducing their costs everywhere is very good. Try to get the Shadows Relic on him, so when you play him it also plays an ephemeral copy, because what that does is it'll just immediately double up the effect and reduce all of your darkness's costs by 2. So then they'll all just go down to 1 cost. So try to get that on him. This is a card that if you are at rank 3, you might want to consider cutting. It still can be helpful, but it definitely is much more helpful before that point. The wizard, before you get this crystal carrier, you might want to get rid of. He's not really as useful, and it costs a bit high for what he gives you, because normally you don't really want to be attacking or blocking with him. You want him to be able to just sit there and give you mana, but just that 1 spell mana normally isn't really good enough. So until you get this crystal carrier, you may want to cut him. The Tenor of Terror, he is not the best. He's definitely way better once you get the Phage. So again, early game, before you get him upgraded, you may want to cut him from your deck as well. Dark Bulb Acolyte is very good. So if you don't have a darkness, he makes one. So normally what you can do is you can play the darknesses you have in hand, play him on board, and then immediately play another darkness. So that can be very helpful. Augment, we'll touch on this a little bit later, but it's very good for Veigar's deck because you're making so many darknesses that your augment units will just get massive. Stress Defense is normally good as a just backup in case the enemy has a huge unit or in case you need to make one of yours survive. One thing you can do is you can Stress Defense your Twisted Catalyzer so that he can survive and get another strike in, because normally you want him to get as many strikes as possible. So he has a pretty good deck. They all generally are focused on just buffing up or reducing the cost of your darknesses. So you definitely want to be playing around that. And there's, like I mentioned, a couple in here that you might want to cut, especially before they get some of the items that actually make them really good. Alright, but that's the in-game portion. We'll hop back and take a look at what powers really work well on Veigar. Alright, the in-game powers for Veigar. So starting off we have Gearing Up. Game start, summon 2 armed gearheads on board. The armed gearheads is a 1 cost 1/1 with Augment and Quick Attack. So Augment every time you play a created card, they get +1 attack. This is very good. You're generating a lot of cards, and so they are scaling very fast, and they can help just remove threats from the enemy board. So one that is just normally okay for most other champions is actually very good for Veigar. Enfeebling Strike, when you damage an enemy, reduce its power by the damage dealt. So this is, again, very nice, helps you stall out the game, lets you use your darkness to, if not kill a unit, reduce their damage so that you're able to block and kill them or just survive their attack. Very good, definitely a common one you want to be getting. The Sorcery, round start, refill your spell mana. Not quite as useful as it is on many other spells-based champions, but it is handy to have, especially before you get those 0-cost darkness. So something that you want to look for, not as crucial as it is for many others, but definitely still good. And then we have the 2 kind of stall options, the Hold It Off, round start, Frostbite the strongest enemy, and then Hold It, round start, Stun the strongest enemy. So these are very handy just to stall out the game, help your ramp, and just last long enough for you to be able to win. He doesn't really have any major synergies with these, like some other champions like Ashe definitely has for Frostbite, or many of the units have, or many other champions have stun synergy where they're either damaging the unit or have spells that can trigger off of it. So it's not quite as good as some other champions, but these are just great defensive options to help you last longer and not get overwhelmed. Alright, so that's it for the general powers in game that are very good for Veigar. So keep an eye out for these when you're in game. There's definitely other powers that are still very good. These are just some of the more standout ones that can really help you win those matches. Alright, but that's it for the in-game powers. Thank you so much for watching this video. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. We're just starting out here on YouTube, so we're trying to grow this channel. If you liked it, yeah, please like the video and comment what you did like about it. If there's something that you didn't like, definitely comment down below, and I'll be reading through all your comments and just trying to improve the channel. But thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you around the channel, and have a great day.